grab the gavel and call us to order. Welcome to all, including visitors. First thing I want to do is just take attendance. I'll do a roll call. Ms. McClellan?
Here.
Ms. Terry? Mr. Moore? Here. Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Here.
Ms. Weitzel?
Here.
Mr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Kirakou?
Here.
And Mr. Wallace? Here. Okay, we currently have one unfilled vacancy for Chesapeake for the voting member. Ms. Lars is the alternate, and Mimi Terry was named for Portsmouth, and Cliff will be sitting in today as the voting member for her. Before we proceed to elections, I just wanted to see if there are any modifications that need to be made to the agenda. If not, we'll approve those.
So move to approve the agenda as
Okay.
presented.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so let's move into the election of Southside Network Authority officers. Our bylaws state that the first month of each calendar year, we will elect new officers, and today we'll be electing our chair, a vice chair, and then the secretary treasurer. And just for information, in the past, as the executive director, I've served as that role. If you want to continue that with support from HRPDC staff, so I'll just give you that information up front. So what I wanted to do now is open the floor for nominations for chair.
Mr. Barry, I'd like to nominate Andrew McClellan for chair.
So moved. Are there any other nominations before we proceed to vote? Okay, I'm going to go through the, Ms. McClellan has been nominated as chair. Ms. McClellan, I guess I should still ask you. Mr. Yeah, I got you.
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Okay. And also Cliff, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so 4 votes in favor. Ms. McClellan is?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Didn't want to hurry the process, but there we go. So Ms. McClellan is duly been nominated and elected as the current chair for the Southside Network Authority. Ms. McClellan, I'm going to turn it over to you now for the election of vice chair, and we'll go through the rest of the agenda.
Okay. So we're going to move on to a nomination of vice chair. And I believe, and I apologize for Robert's rules, can the presiding officer make the nomination?
Small board rules, the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to nominate Vice Mayor Rosemary Wilson from Virginia Beach to be our vice chair. She's really good at the vice position.
Full vice.
So, Vice Mayor Wilson has been nominated. Are there any other nominations?
Hey, how are you?
You're here just in time for votes.
Yay!
So, Ms. Terry, we nominated and elected Ms. McClellan as the new chair. Our bylaws call for nominations, new elections each January of the calendar year. And you're just here in time. Vice Mayor Wilson has been nominated as vice chair. Are there any other nominations?
Hearing none. Mr. DeBerry, would you call
Yes,
the roll?
I will. I'll start with Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. McClellan,
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Okay, so moved.
There we go.
Ms. Wilson is now the vice chair.
That's great. Well, looking forward to serving with all of you guys, continuing to, and some new faces. Ms. Terry, thank you for being here with us. So we also need to elect secretary and treasurer as noted. We have previously provided that position to Mr. DeBerry, and I would entertain a motion to continue in that vein unless there's preference otherwise.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, second.
You accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay, so can we do a roll call vote? to elect Mr. DeBerry as the treasurer and secretary for the following year.
Thank you, appreciate it. We'll go to the vote now. Ms. McClellan,
Yes.
Ms. Terry,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Okay. So moved.
Great. Take good notes. Okay, thank you all. I appreciate it. We're going to move to the public comment section now of the agenda. Mr. DeBerry, are there any submitted public comments?
No, unless any of
Do we have any?
GTS, unless anyone wants to make a comment, there were no submitted comments. Are there any other comments from public?
Okay.
Okay.
Let's move on to the meeting minutes. They were sent out as an attachment. This is from our meetings from both November 22nd and December 9th. This is in such close proximity. Are there any corrections, additions to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
Move approval?
Great, second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now the fun stuff. We will move to the project management update from Mr. DeBerry.
Okay, I'm going to be very brief today. I'm saving condos for the time for item 7, which will be our vote on the interim agreement with GTS. But I did want to just bring you up to speed. It's been a few weeks since we met, and we continue to make progress. I've got a couple of slides I'm going to call your attention to, but basically, permitting construction is underway. I'm going to show you a slide in a few minutes that provides a little bit more detail. We have time on this, but we will continue to work with Portsmouth and Chesapeake on both the in-kind and co-build strategies. I will note that as we go through the design and construction phase, that we're finding additional opportunities in other cities where we might have a chance to partner on segments of fiber network that could save us money, and we'll bring that to the board at the appropriate time. So we're trying to put all those together in one package so that you see that at once. As you can imagine, again, with this project, 120 miles, 37 special crossings, we continue to work closely with our stakeholders and partners, VDOT, DHCD. We're still very much interested in the state's new process for BADI grants and how we might be able to support them in their strategic planning purposes. Obviously, we're working with Army Corps, DEQ, and the railroads are always an item that we would be working with in a project like this. The next agenda item, Mr. Lockaby is going to walk us through this discussion and vote on the interim agreement with GTS. And we're still holding our breath, fingers crossed. The broadband grant for the peninsula is still being considered. We talk to CTC on a regular basis. They're not getting a lot of questions now, so it either means they have the information they need from the applicants, or they are, on a different timetable. But right now, it looks like it's still February 16th. Again, the importance of this is if we were to win this application, the grant includes the 2 major crossings that would connect the peninsula and Southside, which would be fantastic. That estimate is anywhere from $10 to $15 million worth of effort, so no small effort. Over almost 5 miles of tunnel each way. So,
Mr. DeBerry, just, excuse me real quickly, and I think I've asked this before, so my apologies. We do have our federal delegation involved in this. Okay. I want to make sure that they're putting their 2 cents in.
Yes, if I may, our federal delegation has been incredibly supportive. I also have to say and thank partners around this table and throughout the region. We delivered almost 20 regional letters of support for this application. It came from Southside, it came from Peninsula, it came from all aspects of our community region. So we do have everybody on board and keep our fingers crossed.
All right. That's great.
awesome. Yeah, I'm going to go to a backup slide. You've seen this slide before, but this is represents 50% of the permits that will be required for the 119-mile fiber ring. As of today, Denella has completed about 50% of the construction conduit in Portsmouth. And so that's about almost 5 miles of fiber. Vanilla has completed their construction locates in the city of Norfolk based on the approved permit and has begun construction on about 9.5 miles. And we've also submitted 6 permits to Virginia Beach for about 6 miles and 2 permits for about 5 miles to the city of Suffolk. We've set a stretch goal. We hope when we come back in February that those 8 permits will be have been approved, and we're working about 10 to 14 days after approval before we start locating construction. So the squared off sections are the actual fiber in addition to Portsmouth work that's being done. So once we get these last 8 permits, then we'll be a little over 20%, which is kind of a major milestone for a project like this. So we hope to accelerate based on some CTC resourcing decisions also. So feel pretty comfortable about where we are on that. Any questions about construction? And I will say what's not said there is because of the co-build with Chesapeake, there will be an additional 19 miles where we'll only be pulling fiber because the conduit would have been laid by their construction agent. So money savings there, and that would give us 20 quick miles, about 20% of the project. And I think that timeline will be going in next summer, next fall.
Any questions?
Okay, and that's just, I just put these in your package so that if anyone asks you, we'll say, what's this co-build? It's about 19 miles that you see on the bottom, 17 miles in red on the bottom, and about 2 miles up top there. And then the Portsmouth in kind is where we'll be crossing the Western Freeway Bridge using Portsmouth conduit. Okay, that's what I have. Are there questions or anything I need to go into more detail?
Any questions? Stephen, is there anything that's been surprising so far? Has there been anything that you found surprising? It could be to the positive, too.
No, I think we're running into what you would normally do in a construction project like this. I mean, there's infrastructure, lots of infrastructure. The good news is we wanted competition. The good news is we've got competition. There's lots of infrastructure, so there's lots of cable in the ground. There are 24-inch high-pressure gas lines. There's all kinds of things that we are working around over, but the partnership has been great. CTC is their outreach with Danella to the municipalities, the gas companies, the railroads has been awesome. So far, so good.
Do we have any of this information and updates on the website?
No, as a matter of fact, I need to re-engage with the board on that, because if you remember, our website was sort of a pre-implementation. It's not really a true website, so Bob has been posting most of the important stuff with the link, and I need to think about it. I either need to redirect it to that site, or we're going to have someone design a more, now that we're in business, a more robust website. And of course, if we come to an agreement with GTS today, there's some partnership involved there that could facilitate this.
Okay, great. I think that moving forward, though, we're starting to get to the point where we're going to start building momentum with updates,
Yes.
with press releases. We need to have a mechanism for that. And since we have the URL, let's think about, come back at the next meeting about that. And I don't know if there's anybody else, board members, alternates who want to get involved in the marketing press side, but I think that would be a good thing for us to maybe consider. To be able to have that mechanism, because people need to know what we're doing. It's good stuff. They hear about it. They've been hearing about it for 2 to 3 years. Now we're really cooking. So let's make sure people know what's going on.
So I'll make sure, even if for the next meeting, if it's a URL on Bob's website, CTC and Danella kind of put together a package, and on a couple of slides, I can show you the individual segments for permits, what's been done, what hasn't been done, and we can color code construction so that any of you can take a quick look and see, okay, we're at 20%. But thanks.
Okay, appreciate that. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So with the project well underway now, when the website has more info, we can link it from our respective city pages where we're updating on our broadband rings which I think will be of interest to the citizens. So, that's good.
Well, if there are no other comments, I think this is a very nice segue into a discussion and vote potentially on an agreement with GTS, who would be a great partner in helping us to market this. So I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Lockerbie.
Yes, yes, ma'am. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, as I think I've mentioned before. When lawyers start giving PowerPoints, we tend to put everyone to sleep. So I will instead try to give you some basic background and answer questions. In a sense, the background to this, I've heard, I think, 5 or 6 different people today tell me how exciting this is. In some ways, I just feel tired because we've been working on this for 4 years in some form or other. But this is also, in a sense, just the beginning, because it's a 50-page agreement, which is an agreement on how to reach an agreement. The basic, however, there are a variety of deal points that we've already agreed to. And among those primary deal points are that the SNA will retain ownership of the 119.4-mile ring. The GTS will, it's more complicated than just saying GTS, but GTS will lease 96 strands initially from that ring and have the option to lease further strands at rates that are defined by a particular formula. That lease is based upon $2 million a year, as well as GTS agreeing to undertake the maintenance on the ring, which is approximately an $800,000 cost avoidance, $800,000 a year cost avoidance from our perspective. There's also provision for revenue sharing. I want you to note that presently the paragraph on revenue sharing is one rather lengthy sentence with 3 separate clauses to it. It would not shock me to see that become 3 pages by the time we get done the comprehensive agreement. Those are the major things that we have agreed to for our part. To give GTS to us. As a general proposition, however, GTS has a general plan to build out the internet throughout the Hampton Roads region. That's approximately 420,000 passings. The bulk of those passings, and again, I say the word bulk, I don't really have much more specificity than that because this is at the interim agreement stage where we're setting out general deal points. The bulk of those would be wired passings. There will be some which will probably be wireless. GTS would reach 25% of those passings within the first 18 months. 10% of those passings would be in historically disadvantaged areas. So areas of particular poverty, history of discrimination, so on and so forth. Again, that's currently a very vague definition. We all know what it means, but again, that definition becomes a couple of paragraphs at least by the time you get done drafting the comprehensive agreement.
Mike?
Yes,
can I
ma'am.
ask a question? What's a passing?
A passing is
I figured I'm the only one who doesn't know what it means, but,
a passing is a serviceable address.
okay.
So it's actually houses?
A connection.
A
Correct.
residence.
A connection. A residence,
Residence or
business.
business, a property that, okay, got it.
Yes, ma'am.
A hookup.
Yeah. So that's.
Sounds like somebody died.
The short and long of the choice for that 25% and 10% thresholds, those thresholds are thresholds that GTS itself needs to meet in order to be meeting its goals.
Okay.
We're all failing if we don't meet that basic baseline goal. So we're all agreeing that if we're doing if we're all meeting our targets at the end of 18 months, we're going to be in bed together for at least 5 years. Pardon that metaphor. And so those are really the key provisions to this. To give you an idea of what's coming up, We do have a schedule in here. We've all agreed that that schedule is extremely aggressive and probably will not be met, but it gives us targets. If you don't have a plan, what would you deviate from? Hopeful to have articles of organization and an operating agreement for a single-purpose entity that would provide the operational, legal, and financial box for the GTS's portion of this. We would have we would have participation in the management of that. The people who are actually coming up with the bulk of the money for GTS, as well as just GTS itself, obviously will have the bulk of the control of that at the end of the day. We all know that he who has the gold makes the rules to some degree. Have that put together hopefully by March 15th. We believe, we already have more or less complete mapping of the RCR. We obviously won't have as-built until it's completed, which we expect to be by May 31 of 2024. But we already have reasonably good mapping. We can't necessarily tell you exactly which side of the street it's going to be on, but pretty darn close at this point. We're going to develop testing standards. And finally, there's going to be a comprehensive agreement, and that comprehensive agreement is going to set out the goals, the standards, how we reach our goals. And that is set out for tax day in the interim agreement as our target goal. I don't want you all to accuse us of failure. And by us, I mean me, Stephen, the GTS team, of failure if we fail to meet that goal. That is a goal. Real expectation is probably sometime this summer to be done with that agreement. So those are the next pieces that have to come into place so that you guys are, when these agreements start popping out and when we start having closed sessions to talk over primary deal points, and for me and Stephen and Matt DeHaven to get input from you on key deal points, you're not surprised when we start throwing around jargon and lingo. You've now heard the buzzwords. Do y'all have any questions?
And just to confirm, so this is an interim agreement, and a follow-on agreement will happen based on some of these metrics, as well as while the interim is in process, we'll be hitting these other milestones that you mentioned.
We will be hitting those milestones. Those are development of the pieces that implement the basic ideas and deal points here. And it is important to note, there is a good page and a half of points that we still need to work out. But those points that we still need to work out, either because we haven't managed to reach agreement on it, or because we simply don't have enough information to make a decision, they're still out there. We're going to be working those out over the next several months.
Is there flexibility in the agreement, assuming we get this NTIA grant, right? How does that play into this? Are we, at this point, limiting ourselves to the Southside, and we'll tackle that in the future, but does the agreement provide for that?
The agreement in itself does not provide for that. If you recall, based upon the participation agreement, we set up the Southside Ring as an independent financial box. One of the beauties of fund accounting in government is that you can do that, which is what we've done. That would be a separate box. It's not really necessarily part of this agenda item, but at some point we do need to have a discussion of how that separate fund box and potential legal box is going to be set up. That's probably another discussion we'll have the joy of having in the next 2 quarters.
Hopefully February 16th will provide good news and it won't be a problem. to
And
have.
then me and Bob and Stephen will have to jump into high gear real fast. But yes, that is a separate box. I don't want to say that there aren't a lot of tools that we will be developing during the process of developing the comprehensive agreement here that might be transferable or that we might use in order to work with that separate legal box, but that is a separate box.
Okay. Just
It's a
wanted to
separate
confirm,
deal.
so we've already had that discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, I think we can move to an agreement. We don't need to go into closed session? No? We're good to
Not
go?
unless you want to. I can certainly read off if you'd like.
Oh, no, we're fine.
I believe staff is requesting a motion to approve the interim agreement, and direct the executive director to execute and deliver the agreement and proceed to negotiation of the comprehensive
So moved
agreement.
what you said.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Do you want to do a roll call vote on this?
I think we will, in addition to singing aye together, we will now do a roll call vote. Good idea, thank you.
Ms. McClellan?
Yes.
Ms. Terry?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
And Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes. Passes unanimously.
Very.
That's great. Congratulations. This is, I think, a really exciting and a very important next step to where we are. We've worked so hard on the engineering, getting all the money, getting the authority set up. Now we're rocking and rolling and stuff's in the ground, but now we actually have to market this. And so and maintain it. So it's really important that we have a partner who's ready to step up and do this. And so for all the work that GTS has done, for your patience, your willingness to work through a lot of different months and years of discussion, we really say thank you. And I want to say thank you to our team, Stephen, Mike, CTC, of course, all the PDC staff. Thank you all for being there. And Matt, who I can't see you, but I know you're here, so thank you for all your work. Oh, there he is.
And I'd like to thank the GTS folks for
Absolutely.
being here today and for all the hard work and, like Andrea said, the patience. And I think we could have looked the entire world over and never found a better partner.
Thank you.
We have lots and lots of confidence.
We
And you're being able
are
to
extremely
deliver.
thankful. Thank you. And
Yeah.
I'd like to commend your staff as well. Your staff has been excellent to work with. We've got a lot of work to do, but we are here to roll up our sleeves and get this project
And
done.
another thing is I know that y'all are highly confident in the cyber security world. And cybersecurity, I mean, we hear about it every day. It's gonna be really, really important to us.
Right.
And knowing that y'all are there, we know that we have a lot of confidence that that's going to be protected, and because we know that it's one of your.
We are a trusted integrator for NSA, so we do speak cybersecurity very well.
Yes.
And I will say this has taken a bit of time, but we're tested tough by DOD, and this is about half the amount of time that the DOD.
Oh, that's good.
So, not bad.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
It's gonna be
Mr.
enjoyable.
DeHaven, did you want to make a comment?
No, other than just to reiterate, I think what everyone said, this is quite a milestone, and I think we've formed a really tremendous partnership here. I'm really looking forward to continuing to be a part of everything we're going to achieve.
Great. Okay, that's awesome. Well, we will probably, speaking about marketing, we are working on a press release that will very likely go out early next week, because we want people to know we are moving ahead, and so we'll talk about that as well. We'll approve it after the meeting. Well, with that said, that was exciting. Do we have any other old business to discuss? Mr. Crum?
Madam Chair, if I could, I know everybody wants to move on to Friday, but if I could ask a favor, if our board members and if our private partners could please hang in there another 5 minutes. After the meeting, we're going to fold in some tables. We'd like to do a ceremonial photo of our board members with a couple of our private partners. But we just need about 5 minutes. We can move things around very quickly. But and then our communication team, that photograph and some other clips of the day will be linked to the press release that we're going to send out beginning of next week. Okay. So thank you very much.
We're going to actually sign the agreement as part of that photo. It's not just going to be a photo.
Okay, okay, right.
It's gonna be a real deal.
So, is there any new business for the good of the order? Other than, again, welcoming Ms. Terry to the fold, and if you want to say anything, or
Well,
you've been part of the fold.
Yeah.
Say welcome back. It's good to see you. Exactly. I hope you're well rested. That's great. Okay. Well, hearing none, I'll call this meeting adjourned.